How do you convince me?
No, I think first of all, that was not entering or facing Mount Kenya properly, so called. I think what happened in Bondo may have been maybe characterized as facing Mount Kenya. I think that is the kind of political maneuvers that demoralize the right-minded. I mean, even if you want to find humor in it, there's really cutting a ribbon to enter Githurai, I mean, which is really part of Nairobi.
very multi-ethnic, very multi.
Now, let me tell you, we may forget the genesis of the problem, the historical account of the failures of the Jubilee administration, where we are now, and what it means for the future. You see, if there was no handshake, the politics of betrayal we are seeing now would not be there, and maybe the politics would have taken a dramatic turn. Yeah, it was understood within Jubilee rank and file that Uhuru would do his 10, and then Ruto would do his 10. But I think analysts and commentators saw this coming. Yeah, we just didn't expect it to unfold in the form and shape of to manifest in the form and shape of the handshake. But Kenyan political history is replete with politics of betrayal. There was no assurance 8 years ago that after Uhuru completes 10 years, he would hand over power. You know, and if that transfer of power to within Jubilee to William Ruto was going to be done, it would have had to appeal to the larger voting bloc of Mount Kenya, because the way Kenyan politics is organized. I think because of the first term of Jubilee and the second term, those in Jubilee, and I think there's value in that statement, that in the first term of Jubilee, some Jubilee leaders felt that William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, basically they shared government 50-50. And now Uhuru is leaving. Why should he leave the government to William Ruto to do another 10 when he's done 10 years already? Yeah. So what about where does that leave the Mount Kenya leaders? Yeah, who really still felt that they need, if Ruto is going to be there, they still also need to have a bigger stake. So then what happened post the handshake? Those who have been agonizing with the idea of taming Ruto found a pathway in Raila Odinga. And I think Raila Odinga's advisors also must have thought that, listen, there's a decent chance that Raila may not be president without Mount Kenya backing. So what if he tries wooing Uhuru Kenyatta and Mount Kenya to get the support? And there's no harm in trying, you get. Because once he gets the solid support of Mount Kenya, then he's halfway through. That is why you see people like facing Mount Kenya, cutting ribbons. The battle is to succeed the vote-rich Mount Kenya region. But the problem I see with this kind of politics is this. Politicians and our leaders are constantly or continuously reinforcing the perception that politics is, or the reality, that politics is organized around ethnic solidarity. Now, that's what I'm saying. If you benefit from the status quo, you can't disrupt it, yeah? People who can disrupt the status quo are people that are most aggrieved with it, people that are hurt by it, yeah? Right now, once you get the larger bulk of Mount, and that's what even Ruto is trying to do. You see, even the analysis that you're doing, no, of course there are no leaders from Mount Kenya in Githurai, but why that is good news to Tangatanga Wing is because they also don't want the inroads they've made in Mount Kenya to be eroded by Raila Odinga or the alternative wing, you know. So this politics that you see from the Ruto side, from Raila side, Kalonzo side, and all this is just about protecting your turf first and then negotiating to bring someone's turf into your turf, yeah. And if you are conceptualizing leadership based on ethnic arrangement, then you can see that you're going to inherit the problems of the present, and you're going to transition with them into the future. That's what I'm saying. As it is right now, I can tell you, Bitok, it doesn't really matter who becomes the president between Raila Odinga and William Ruto. The leadership, the administration, the next administration will act the same, if not worse, than the present administration.
But the question is, Ogolla, there's something I wanted to quote, even as I allowed Dr. to chime in. The situation in Githurai. The president has continued to assure Raila that he ni ndugu yake. But how mandugu walikuwa wapi Githurai? Wasialike baba Central Kenya. No, do you think Uhuru Kenyatta is, because you cannot tell me Uhuru Kenyatta sits with this, he's even meeting them tomorrow in Sagana. Why could he not mobilize these MPs to go and welcome Raila Odinga in Githurai?
I don't think Githurai was really properly so-called facing Mount Kenya. And I'm doubting the seriousness of the organizers of that. That's why I'm unable to imagine what was going through Uhuru's mind. But Githurai properly so-called can't be called as entering Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is not in Githurai. I mean, it's a very, very cosmopolitan region. I think the conveners, the organizers of that meeting probably were lacking in seriousness, yeah? They just wanted to have some fun around it. The issue is this. Whether Uhuru is committed to the BBI beyond the 2017, up to the post-2022 election, I think is an ongoing debate. Because sometimes it strikes hot, sometimes it strikes cold, yeah? But what he's getting right is that he's been able to neutralize the fierce political opposition that was there since 2013, yeah? The first administration. With Raila out of the picture and Ruto, intimately concerned with succession politics, there's really no one to check this government. This government can't check itself. Ruto himself can't antagonize, can't call out the president because he doesn't want to risk the support in Mount Kenya. Raila himself now can't call out the government because he wants to benefit from the support in Mount Kenya. He's also in government.
If he tries to shoot Ruto, he has to shoot.
So really, you can see really at this particular stage, Uhuru doesn't have to be overly committed to the handshake or to William Ruto.
Or even to BBI.
Or even to BBI. He doesn't have to.
Actually, he doesn't talk about it.
He doesn't talk about it. So I think to rely on Uhuru Kenyatta's support, that's why I feel, in a way, it could be argued that Ruto probably seems to have an upper hand or a head start insofar as consolidating support in Mount Kenya goes, because he seems to have you can do a head count of actual MPs that support Ruto. Although at the top, and the leadership in Mount Kenya, the way they like to frame it is that Uhuru Kenyatta is the de facto leader of Mount Kenya region. But you can see at the bottom, Ruto seems to have the numbers, yeah? The political leadership will also may be having some pockets of support. Those pockets of support, if you consolidate it, they could translate in the kind of votes that Ruto needs to become president. Right. So Ruto and Raila are struggling to win Uhuru's support. But Uhuru is not any anxious to express commitment to either. He sends Mount. I think I can tell you also, Bitok, if you saw the Gema leadership, yeah, going to Bondo, of course you could say that they had gone there with the tacit support of Uhuru Kenyatta just to manage expectations in that region. And you see Uhuru going to Kisumu to launch projects and so on and so forth. That is part of the political communication to try and deal with the expectations. But then also when it's needed really to bring Raila right into the deeper ends of Mount Kenya, sometimes he holds back, yeah? And maybe the conversation that will happen tomorrow in Sagana probably will go like, okay, allow me to complete my term. Whatever happens will happen. I don't think you can say with certainty that Uhuru Kenyatta will support, or the entire Mount Kenya will support William Ruto or Raila Odinga at this stage. Support interest-formation.
EKURU AUKOT, you are coming into Rift Valley, Rift Valley part of.
No, we'll come to it. But let me make some prophecies, and please mark my words. Number one, Baba anachezwa.
Aya.
And I will leave it at that. You'll remember me for this.
Baba anachezwa.
Baba anachezwa.
Okay.
Number two, sometimes later in this year, towards the middle of this year or late this year, nobody will be listening to Uhuru, whether from Mount Kenya or elsewhere.
Aya.
Thirdly, Uhuru has never been the kingpin in central Kenya.
I'm making a tablet of these prophecies you're making.
You should. Uhuru has never been the kingpin of central Kenya, and he will not be able to chaperone central Kenya into one basket and say support so and so. He will not. In fact, even his own political pedigree over many years actually has shown that. There is a time Uhuru was could not even win a seat in Gatundu together with the presidency. He had to recalibrate himself so that in 2007, that's when he had to support Kibaki, who was popular in central Kenya. And that's the only reason why Uhuru bounced back in 2013, because he supported. And the reason central Kenya actually supported Uhuru in 2013 is because Raila was running, who was mistrusted. I'll tell you this, Bitok. Commercial transaction happened between Uhuru and Raila. Raila knew, and like Wakili has actually said it, I don't even want to repeat it. With Raila outside government, he was going to bring hell to the Jubilee administration. Why was Jubilee worried about that? Jubilee was worried about that because it's a failed government. They never believed in anything that they promised Kenyans. And the only person with machinery, with even political capital to disrupt administration is Raila. There are many other voices, but Raila has inroads. He also has a political capital, a political constituency. I mean, he has developed it over the years. So Jubilee, the genius of Jubilee administration, to go back into slumber and to fail to deliver on their political promises was to bring in the only noisemaker out there who could actually point out their failures. And that's how Baba was brought into government. And that's how democracy in this country has been killed. The idea of calling government into account has been killed. Okay? But we talk. I want us to move away from discussing personality, because this is one of the endemic problems in our country. We are discussing Kenya as if it is Uhuru, Ruto, Raila, and the rest. I wish we could move on to discuss issues that affect Kenyans and why these leaders have even failed over the years. These leaders we complain. These are all the same thing. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you at some point, again, this could be another prophecy you want to record. I am seeing a repeat of the NAC coalition, Wakili. If hell breaks loose, all these people will gang up together and come up with another coalition government in 2022. Because they all belong to the same. They have all served in various governments together. Even look at the coalition government. Look at from let's say talk from 1997, times of cooperation with KANU. Raila was there. 202, there are those who stayed away. 207, Kalonzo betrays Raila, goes in with Kibaki and the rest. So I think really the problem in this country is the failure of the majority, the ordinary majority, to actually proactively participate in the governance of Kenya and to say, this is the alternative voices that we have. And really, the sooner we stop discussing these personalities, the better for this country. Because we're discussing this personality in the context of their own personal interest. It's no longer about Kenya, by the way. The way I analyze situation, I see that it is about their own personal interest. In fact, I see a situation where the reason, for example, Uhuru brought Raila on board is probably he thinks, do we trust, say, Ruto, if Ruto is the guy to beat in 2022? Will Ruto protect our interests? Will he not interfere with our interests? That which we have accumulated over the last 50 plus years. So they need a fellow who understands them. And by the way, when Raila and Uhuru call each other brothers, they all partly grew up in State House. I think it was Ruth Adhiambo, Raila's younger sister, who actually said that, Raila used to carry all of them in his back. So these people come from a long way. So there is no time that they will really differ so much. It's like you and your brother and your sister. You can fight, you can refuse to talk to each other. At some point, blood is thicker than water, as they say. So these people are one and the same. So I think let's move this debate to what are the problems that affect this country and how do we maneuver ourselves through those problems. But
these people are the problem, like you said.
Exactly. So let's start from there. That's a very good starting point. So the problem in this country is Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto.
You call them the big five.
Yeah, the big five. They like the wild animals that we have in the Masai Mara and and the rest. So that started from that problem. So one of the solutions to the problem of this country is to relegate this so-called big five. Is to lock them out. And now the solution would be, let's have new leadership, new blood come in. And I want to persuade Wakili Steve here, let's not be analysts anymore. We can analyze this situation, but let's get into the game. Let's play this game.
I get it.
So he's being, the other day he tried to play it. Anyway, pick it up. Ogolla. He tried to play, but the system gave him an undertaker move.
Oh yeah.
And it just went
now we'll be talking to someone with power.
And there was no fair referee.
Your Excellency. Your Excellency, Ogolla. Anyway, Paul. These people are very serious. They pull
the rug from under my feet.
Right. You're making something.
We say that they do combe, like literally pulling the cup from someone's mouth. Just before you take a sip,
someone slaps it off.
Grab it away.
You're about to chew.
That's when we started calling him Mheshimiwa. These guys.
But let me just expand. There's at some point here, Dr. is saying, Uhuru is playing Raila, but he's also playing Ruto. And in the end, Mount Kenya is benefiting. Let me show you how.
Okay.
In the Jubilee arrangement, Jubilee matrix, before the handshake, Ruto was the automatic presidential candidate. And at that time, he had the luxury of time. And he had the comfort, and he was shopping for a running mate from across the country. Yeah? There was a time he was quoting Governor Waiguru. Yeah. He had some conversation with the Kwale governor. And also and also some, I think, Kilifi MP Gideon Mungaro. He had a conversation with Oparanya at one point. He was quoting Mudavadi. He was quoting Obado. There was some leadership also in Western Kenya. Even Mudavadi at one point, yeah. And also, so all these leaders, even in Kisii, so he was trying to select or to identify a potential running mate from across the board, yeah? But post the handshake, he has been cornered to only pick the running mate from Mount Kenya. I think Ruto, if you want to know that politics of ethnic politics is still deeply embedded, Ruto can easily lose Mount Kenyan support if he picks the running mate outside Mount Kenya. That's already that is a significant win for the Mount Kenya region. Now there's some assurance that even if Ruto becomes president, they will get the running mate of the deputy presidency and probably some slots. Look at Raila Odinga. Because of the handshake, he really doesn't have an option. Why should we support you when you are difficult to sell in Mount Kenya and we already have a candidate, an automatic candidate, the deputy president, we already have who actually delivered votes for Uhuru Kenyatta. Why should you transfer that support? The only way Uhuru can communicate that the candidate of Raila Odinga is if Raila actually hands over the entire government back to Uhuru Kenyatta, back to Mount Kenya. He becomes a more of a ceremonial president, a figurehead. Let history judge him well that he was president, even if he doesn't have real powers. That's where you see the expansion of government, yeah? So where we are right now, Raila Odinga cannot run for president if he's not identifying the running mate for Mount Kenya. But if that is not, if he's pushed to the corner where now it is Raila Odinga's candidate running mate versus William Ruto's running mate, then he might as well actually not run at all. I think it's not beyond Raila not to run in 2022 as part of the final bargain. You get? If you see what happened on 9th March 2018, after the handshake, we saw Raila transforming himself quickly into someone who is now more complacent and compliant to the Jubilee administration and no longer questions it. Yeah, I think the man has also grown old and is feeling like, listen, I don't need to fight for this country beyond what I've done. If I can negotiate an exit package,
that's fair enough for me.
And even give Luo Nyanza the position of deputy president and then the presidential candidate to Mount Kenya, he will do it. So I think that's what I'm saying. It's still difficult or too early to suggest how politics at the top will play. But you see, all this is about politics of numbers, yeah, ethnic arrangement, yeah. But the problem with that approach is that in the long run, it doesn't solve anything. As you can see, the so-called Big Five are ideologically aligned, which is just ethnic political patronage, ethnic support, and then you bring numbers together.
Actually, let's not credit them by even associating with any ideology. Let's call them politically aligned.
Yeah, the politically aligned. You get? That's what I'm saying. Listen, my least concern, and I'll be here practicing. Yes. In fact, I suspect very strongly that under Ruto's presidency, probably my law firm will thrive. But there'll be so many cases to litigate. And the same and the same maybe I think if Kenyans are serious, they need to look beyond.
Just hold on the line, please.
They need to look beyond Raila Odinga, William Ruto, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, and of course Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right, good morning.
Okay, my name is Eric. So and I have a comment to make. So I think the problem with that is Kenya is a big political orphanage. You see, every election cycle, cycling the same leaders are different brands, but the thing lack is an ideological hope.
Yes.
Every cycle of elections, these big five so-called names, they really don't think their names are very tiresome every time on the media. Keep getting into the game after sanitizing themselves and shedding off their old skin with new narratives like what we're calling right now hustler narrative and the dynasty things. But what Kenyans should do, I think Kenyans should clearly be taught and final, is that we need to go outside thinking of these two guys. In fact, what is so special about Ruto as a personality? What is so special about Raila as a personality? There's problems in this country. Except regimes that have served in all these governments, and they've never brought this change they normally keep thinking about. I think it's time we guys open our eyes and our minds and just vote wise.
Hello? Hello? All right, I think the guy has disappeared. I'm gonna end up. It must be a network problem because I can't hear him anymore. Anyway, even your mambo inaenda, I think we'll be just picking calls in the next few minutes. You've also been challenged EKURU AUKOT that this Linda Katiba punguza mzigo, kuna ingine ilikuwa inaitwa aje tena? Kongamano la mageuzi.
There is another one also being led by Mtumishi Kadhangu. It's called public accountability something. Yeah.
So why is it that you guys can never just form one umbrella group and not things happen in this?
To be honest, this is the question I've been raising even in this group. I've been invited. I've attended the one for Njeru Kathangu, and I did raise the same question. But it is a perennial problem with Kenyan politics that one of the biggest challenges has always been unity in opposition. There's never been, and even those people who say that they're in opposition actually will still be looking up to government for favors, and that's why I'm not surprised when Raila decided to join government, because if the opposition in Kenya is not really opposition as such. But when I analyze all these groupings in the context of opposing BBI, I really sympathize, because, for example, Kongamano la Linda Katiba are saying that let's protect the constitution. What I have failed to see in all these groupings is the alternative to BBI.
Yeah.
Because what we are being boxed into is the usual opposition of you versus us. And that will just be kawaida politics. If you say Linda Katiba today, for example, Linda Katiba, look at the choreography. I mean, like Akili Steve has really eloquently analyzed. It's the same people we are saying today, Linda Katiba or enforce the Katiba, that will be in government if we don't come up with the alternative. So they will never Linda this Katiba. That's the truth. Kongamano la mageuzi, what is it about us that we want to do? For me, and not to to sound selfish, but I think Punguza Mizigo was the only rival to BBI even right now.
Yes,
and that it was presenting to Kenyans an alternative. That yes, you are saying people are able to compare. This is your bill called BBI, but this is the bill called Punguza Mizigo. And in our case, we had even analyzed what are the benefits that will come to Kenya. And Wakili will confirm here, when you are legislating or even writing any constitution or any policy, you have to establish the common good to society. In the absence of the common good to society, that's a bad law from the very beginning. So I think today what the problem with all these groupings is that first, we are not able to come together. I don't know why. I have actually thrown this challenge back to these various groupings. Secondly, I've really urged them, let's give Kenyans an alternative, at least a choice. Let them have a choice between either BBI and something else, even if it's not Punguza Mizigo, because I don't want people to think that because I'm just promoting Punguza Mizigo here. I'm more than happy for people to say, okay, let's even present another, even if it's another amended draft, but at least we give Kenya an option. That's missing. And there's a lot of selfishness in our politics, because at the end of the day, it is fundamentally about selfish interests. It's about survival. It's not issue based, because if it was issue based, I don't see the reason why people who are opposed to this government shouldn't come together. We should actually come together and present one view. Just like, for example, in other countries, you have independents joining up with the opposition to oppose the sitting government, or independents sometimes agreeing with government on a certain issue against, say, the opposition. We don't see that in Kenya. If today, look at, for example, again, let's unfortunately we can't avoid talking about these personalities. You remember Kalonzo saying, I think it was in his father's funeral, that the only thing I will share with Jubilee, the only power I'll share with Jubilee is Kenya power. You remember he said,
and they said he would rather die than join the government. The other day he was
then the next thing you know, he's a special envoy to South Sudan. We already have an ambassador in South Sudan. So it was just a job the guy was looking for. And there was nothing to specially convey during this time. The agreements have already been signed. Riek Machar and Salva Kiir are already in government together. So there's really nothing a special envoy will do. Those circumstances. But
it should actually bother you that everything in this country revolves around interest. Even the liberators that keep pushing a liberating agenda.
But there's absolutely nothing wrong with interest per se, I have a problem with selfish interests. If it is personalized selfish interests, then I have a problem with that. But yes, interests are there. I mean, people can meet over interests. What's our interest in this? But when you selfishly guard it and it's about benefiting yourself at the expense of the majority, then there's a problem. Because, for example, today, we all, I mean, I was also supporting handshake at some point. Actually, when I remember, I was the only political leader that on the 10th, is it on the 10th? Yes. On the 10th of March 2018, that actually issued a statement and supported the handshake. Because I truly believe that Kenya has to be peaceful. But when the handshake happened, and thereafter, what happened to the masses that actually saw, for example, Raila Amolo Odinga in Uhuru Park? Did their problems change? And this is where I think, for me, I still urge Kenyans, go back to the sermon that was given by Canon Provost Sami Wainaina. And he said that if the fact that a member of your tribe becomes president doesn't mean that your problems actually, lessen or, go away. You still have the same problems. Go to Gatundu or Ichaweri, where Uhuru Kenyatta comes. There are people who sleep hungry. There are people who walk barefooted. Their life hasn't changed.
Haya, tusikie mwananchi. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, sure.
Jambo Gerald.
Jambo, karibu kwa bunge.
Thank you so much.
Nazungumza na nani?
TRS Marshall.
TRS Marshall, jambo.
Jambo.
Haya, tuambie.
Daka ni mtako huyu jamaa anaitwa EKURU AUKOT.
Anakusikia.
Anasema wheelbarrow is a way of mocking the people.
Yes, that's what I said.
Na yeye juzi alikuwa na live wheelbarrow, alikuwa na camel kwa hiyo jamaa yake.
Yes.
You also part of the people mocking the people.
No, I wasn't mocking the people. I'll explain to you what the symbol of a camel, because looks like Uja Soma Manifesto ya Third Way Alliance Kenya. Ukisoma, I'll explain to you why we picked the symbol of camel as a symbol of resilience of Kenyans, which I don't think the wheelbarrow is.
Even the wheelbarrow is part of the resilience.
Okay,
of the Kenyans.
I explain to us how it is.
Yes.
Anasema utueleze wheelbarrow ni symbol.
What does it symbolize?
It's the same as a camel because it carries
nguvu ya kubeba zimiti
na kokoto.
Actually, I have no problem with the wheelbarrow as a symbol of the camel. I think they're lacking in ideology. The problem we have with is this.
Asante sana TRS.
I think he just has a bone to pick with me. That's a real tanga.
Nataka kutako leo jamaa.
There's a serious question of constitutional and political relevance that Dr. EKURU raised, which has gone unattended. How can DP William Ruto, who we now have agreed cannot run away from the problems of Jubilee, be the person to transform the economy? I mean, he has to convince, he has to persuade us. You get? I don't think it's just safe to say that because of an alternative narrative, I'm now good to go. I think, and then the same question must be raised regarding the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga. If you are a man a man of conviction, who believes in doing things the right way, and Kenya has signed onto the Open Government Partnership (OGP),
yes,
that talks about transparency and accountability and openness in government, and now you are aiding the opaqueness in government, exactly. And we no longer question how then can we expect you to lead an open and transparent government? Yeah. You know, these are questions that even Raila Odinga must answer.
Yeah,
you know, he must answer. Because, you know, you can't get tired of an ideology. An ideology is what makes you who you are. You can't say, the way we've seen Baba supporters saying that, Baba pia apumziki akule kidogo. Baba akule. Ati ameumia sana. Baba yawa kidogo. You know, how do you get tired of being yourself?
Baba alambe glucose.
I mean, you know, he's actually justifying failing.
Kuna jamaa mwingine hapa anasikia anasema, "Good morning. Good morning."
Hello, morning.
How are you?
Habari Gerald.
Salama sana.
Ni Martin.
Yes, Martin.
Bana, hapo tukubalini ukweli. The biggest problem Kenya ni the political parties. That is the biggest issue. Issue by the tribalism, because if you have very strong parties, somebody from Turkana can also vie to be the presidential candidate of that party. But kama parties itakuwa people, the political leaders, the ones that are going to influence who is going to be the leader, tribalism is always going to be there. Because hizo political parties need tribal parties headed by tribal leaders.
Tribal chiefs.
So, yeah, tribal chief. Even if you go to the US, the Democrats, the strongest person who is going to be the one that is going to lead the party in the presidential election has to be chosen. Has to go through a process.
Yeah.
But sasa ukiangalia ODM wanasema sijui watu wanataka wachague presidential candidate. Na tunajua ukweli ni Raila ndiye atakuwa hapo.
Kwa katiba ya ODM actually the party leader is automatic presidential candidate.
Sasa kina Oparanya wache hizo stories zao na kina Joho na kina Kingi. That is shenanigans. Hakuna penye inaenda. So the biggest problem Kenya democratically ni issue ya parties.
Okay.
Mkisolve political parties problem, you'll have democracy. But hivi vitu zingine tuachane na hiyo story. Hakuna democracy hapo.
Okay. Asante sana Mate.
Yeah. Asante.
Alright.
I think just a quick comment on that.
Good morning.
Morning, Gerald.
Good morning to you, sir.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I am congratulating you to your team.
Thank you.
Now, Steve Ogolla has just asked us whether we can see the DP if he is willing to change the economy. But for me, naona, unajua, the deputy president cannot be separated from the presidency. That is in the constitution. But now, with the issue of work, kwa kazi, the DP anaweza fanya kazi. Unaona, in the 2013, 2017, when Jubilee was still Jubilee, the DP uliona kila mahali aki-launch ma projects. But now, after handshake, manene hiyo kazi ya DP ya ku-launch projects ikapewa kwa CS Matiang'i. Sasa, DP angefanya aje? So for me, for my side, I can see if the chance to be given to the DP, atafanya kazi vizuri sana. Otherwise, I'm Langat Matthew from.
Hi, asante sana Langat Matthew from Nakuru. Good morning.
Good morning, Gerard.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm calling you from Eldama Raving.
Yeah, so am I speaking to?
You're talking to Atenkip.
Atenkip, jambo.
Jambo sana. I think it's high time we have an honest conversation. And I'm really proud of how your panel is handling issues.
Thank you.
It's high time we call a spade and not a big spoon. Because when leaders are taking us to the wrong side, I think it's high time we educate the local manager so that at the end of the day they make the right decisions.
Okay.
Thanks, Gerard, for the good work you're doing, and I'm really proud of your panelists, both Fred and Ekuru, because they are debating based on facts and they are really honest.
Thank you so much. Na utuwekea mbuzi, tutakuja huko tukule mbuzi Eldama Ravine.
Kabisa, I will.
Unajua niko na huyu Zurukana wangu mnapakana huko anapenda nyama.
Mtamia natoka hapo Mogotio.
Na asali.
Kabisa. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Enjoy your weekend.
Yes, sir.
All right. I think tutamalizia simu hapo so that in the next probably because you're 10 minutes and I think 10 minutes now, 9:10. So now we can pick the conversation until the next 20 minutes.
We talk just like a quick comment,
Yes.
In the context of being honest, because Steve was coming on board. I just looked at the news today and I'm seeing, I think this is part of the honesty we need to accept. I see Murathe has said, Uhuru's promise to Ruto was like wooing a girl. So if I promise...
Asama box.
Shaingia box. Sasa mambo gani mengine mnaongea?
Alikuwa anauliza have you ever seen campaigns in Africa?
Expanding that conversation. I think Kenyans should be very careful, especially Ruto supporters. The person stopping Ruto from being president is not Raila Odinga. It is Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila would not be in government through the back door if Uhuru had not permitted it.
Yes.
And Uhuru would not permit it unless he wanted to neutralize Ruto. So let's just locate the problem where it is.
Yeah.
But I think also, Ogolla, when you look at this as well, as you, even as you continue with your thoughts, I think if Raila had not gotten into government, Ruto would have been a very lame duck.
No, here's the thing. Now we can pontificate on that.
Yes.
But what has
Because I think it has given him a fresh leash of life.
And he didn't have to exert himself because he was going to be the automatic successor. In fact, Ruto would be castigating Raila and the position as the usual way. Yeah? I think the spotlight should be shown where it belongs. Uhuru has a problem with Ruto becoming president. And Murathe keeps on saying that and they keep on ignoring it.
You know,
and
Murathe is Uhuru.
Yes, and diverting attention to Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is only being used. And I tend to agree that Raila is not harvesting the dividends, the political dividends of the fallout between Ruto and Uhuru. He's actually being used as a conduit or as a cover, you know, to shield the blame from Uhuru Kenyatta, yeah, the president. So I think that must not go unattended. If the other question about ODM advertising for a presidential candidate, I don't, you know, at first I dismissed it as unnecessary political drama. But sometimes nothing happens without reason. When you see ODM advertising, they're probably trial ballooning, trying to see, because the conversation within ODM rank and file that they don't have to field a presidential candidate is gaining support. Because since Uhuru is determined not to hand over power to Ruto, and Raila may not be the candidate that is sellable in Mount Kenya, if they can conspire, for lack of a better word, to give it to someone else, whether through ODM ticket or through someone else. Because you see, the way our politics is, let's say if it's not possible to identify someone else through ODM mechanism, then they'll create a new party, and then they'll say, let this candidate negotiate with the other person. So they could be preparing ODM supporters of a possible Raila's exit in 2022. Let's not underrate that possibility, because you see, Raila can calculate and recalibrate his chances, yeah? I mean, if politics, if Kenyans are going to vote based on the pattern that you already know, for Raila Odinga to be president, he needs the Mount Kenya support. If that support is not assured, then he can trade with the low votes, he can trade with ODM supporters, he can trade with it either to give them the deputy president, or to hand over the entire, so that he can just be a figurehead, a ceremonial president without real portfolio, without real power. But if that can't work, then probably the handshake will collapse in its entirety, yeah? And Ruto then will be able to take over power.
There's something is mentioned about Mount Kenya support. Yesterday, the MPs wrote a letter, 13 pages, saying we cannot sell Raila Odinga in Mount Kenya. He has chimed in about the fact that Raila Odinga is counting on the Central Kenya, just to interrupt your thought, Central Kenya support. What does that mean in terms of the angling of politics?